It was a cold autumn night in 2018 when Emily decided to house sit for her aunt in that old Victorian home on the outskirts of town. The place had always given her the creeps, with its creaking floors and drafty windows that seemed to whisper when the wind picked up. Her aunt was away for a week, and Emily needed the extra cash, so she figured she could handle it. She was 22, living on her own for the first time, and thought she was tough enough to ignore the house's weird vibes. The first night was uneventful. Emily settled in with some takeout and binge-watched shows on her laptop in the living room. The house was quiet, except for the occasional groan from the settling wood. Around midnight, she headed upstairs to the guest bedroom, flicking off lights as she went. She double-checked the locks on the doors, like her aunt had instructed: front door, back door, even the basement latch. Everything was secure. She fell asleep quickly, but woke up around 3 a.m. to a faint sound. It was like scratching coming from somewhere downstairs. At first, she thought it was a branch against the window, but there were no trees close enough. She lay there, heart picking up speed, straining to listen. Scratch, scratch, pause, scratch. It was rhythmic, almost deliberate. Emily grabbed her phone, turned on the flashlight, and tiptoed to the hallway. The house felt colder than before, like a chill had seeped in from outside. Downstairs, the scratching seemed to be coming from the kitchen. She crept down the stairs, each step creaking under her weight, making her wince. The kitchen door was closed, just as she'd left it. She pushed it open slowly, the hinge letting out a soft squeak. The room was empty, moonlight filtering through the curtains. But then she saw it. Tiny marks on the back door's wooden frame, like something had been clawing at it from the inside. Not deep, but fresh. Her stomach twisted. Had an animal gotten in? She checked the door, it was still locked. No signs of forced entry. Shaking it off as maybe a mouse or something, she went back to bed. But sleep didn't come easy. The next morning, she inspected the marks in daylight. They looked like fingernail scratches, too wide for an animal. Emily laughed it off nervously, telling herself it was just the house's age playing tricks. That evening, she invited her friend Sarah over to keep her company. They cooked dinner, chatted about work, and watched a movie. Around 11 p.m., Sarah left, and Emily locked up again. She felt better having had company, but as she headed upstairs, that scratching started again. This time, it was louder, more insistent. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Coming from the basement door now. Emily froze at the top of the stairs. She hadn't gone down there yet. The basement was full of old boxes and junk, and her aunt had said not to bother with it. Her pulse raced as she approached the door. "Hello," she called out softly, feeling stupid. No answer, but the scratching stopped abruptly, like whatever it was had heard her. She backed away, heart pounding in her ears, and ran to her room, barricading the door with a chair. The rest of the night was silent, but she didn't sleep a wink. The next day, curiosity got the better of her. She grabbed a flashlight and ventured into the basement. The air was musty, thick with dust boxes were stacked everywhere, labeled with dates from decades ago. As she poked around, she found an old photo album tucked behind some furniture. Flipping through it, she saw pictures of her aunt as a young woman, smiling with a man Emily didn't recognize. In one photo, they were standing in front of this very house. But in the background, through a window, there was a blurry figure inside, watching them. A chill ran down her spine. She kept flipping more photos, but in several, that same shadowy figure appeared in windows or doorways, always just out of focus. Then she found a newspaper clipping slipped between the pages. It was from 1995. Local man found dead in home, cause unknown. The article described how the man, her aunt's husband, apparently had died in the basement. Scratches all over his body, like he'd been trying to claw his way out of something. No signs of struggle with another person, ruled a suicide, but the scratches were self-inflicted? It didn't make sense. Emily's hands shook as she read it. Her aunt had never mentioned being married. She stuffed the album back and hurried upstairs, calling her aunt. No answer. That night, the scratching returned, but now it was accompanied by a low whispering, like a voice murmuring words she couldn't quite make out. It moved from the basement to the kitchen to right outside her bedroom door. She huddled under the covers, phone in hand, dialing 911 but hanging up because what would she say? The house is scratching at me? The whispers grew clearer over the hours. Let me out. Emily's fear turned to terror. She remembered the article the man had died trying to get out. Was something trapped here? At dawn, exhausted, she packed her things to leave. But as she reached the front door, she heard footsteps behind her, slow, dragging steps coming up from the basement. She bolted out, not looking back, and drove straight home. Her aunt called later, sounding normal, asking how the house sitting was going. Emily lied, said it was fine, but she never went back. Weeks later, she learned her aunt had sold the house suddenly. But the chilling part? When Emily asked about the husband, her aunt went silent, then whispered, "Some things are better left buried." Emily still hears scratching in her dreams, and sometimes, when she's alone, she swears she feels nails dragging across her skin.